Welcome to this Ethical Point Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really fascinating intersection of philosophy, human psychology, and public service. Throughout this explainer, I'm going to be your guide through a bit of a lively debate. I'll be playing both the inner skeptic, the voice that questions conventional wisdom, and the mentor, who brings everything back to practical, real-world application. We're tackling a massive question today. What truly makes a successful civil servant? Is it just the raw processing power of the brain, or is it something deeper? To set the stage, consider the exact 2023 UPSC General Studies Paper 4 question. It asks if a definite set of emotional skills, your EQ, matters more for success, character, happiness, and lifelong achievements than purely cognitive abilities measured by conventional IQ tests. Now, the skeptic in all of us might immediately push back on this. We've been taught our whole lives to value grades, logic, and analytical prowess, right? Isn't raw intellect actually the absolute most important trait for complex administration? Should we really just blindly agree with this EQ idea?
Well, to answer that comprehensively, here is our agenda for today. 1. The IQ versus EQ debate. 2. Core concepts. 3. Administrative action. 4. Resilience and grit. 5. Teams and happiness. And finally, 6. Cracking the UPSC answer. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, the IQ versus EQ debate. This is where we really set up the juxtaposition between conventional intelligence, the kind that gets you through those brutally tough academic exams, and emotional skills, which essentially dictate how you navigate the messy, unpredictable human world. The relationship between these two forms of intelligence is just fascinating. According to our source material, IQ is the threshold competency. Think of it like the key that unlocks the door. You absolutely need it to acquire professional knowledge and solve complex problems. But EQ, emotional intelligence, is the distinguishing factor. Once you're actually inside the room, EQ is what dictates how effectively you apply that knowledge in real-life situations to gain and sustain success. Basically, it's the difference between being smart on paper and being genuinely effective in reality. Section 2, Core Concepts. Okay, before we dive any deeper into real-world applications and administrative dilemmas, we're going to deliberately pause for a second. In ethics and public service, you need absolute conceptual clarity on technical terms before you can actually apply them. So, let's define IQ in layman's terms. Intelligence quotient is your baseline requirement. It represents the logical, mathematical, and analytical reasoning required to innovate, conduct scientific research, and achieve technical competence. The inner skeptic is totally right to value this. Without IQ, you simply cannot analyze the vast amounts of facts and data required in modern administration. It's completely essential. But here's where the mentor steps in and counters. Emotional quotient, or EQ, is the ability to recognize, understand, regulate, and effectively manage not just your own emotions, but the emotions of the people around you. While IQ helps you analyze the cold, hard facts, EQ ensures social awareness. It ensures that your raw intellect is integrated with empathy, which leads to balanced, practical, and truly humane decision-making. Now, it's super vital to maintain a balanced perspective here. Cognitive intelligence, that raw intellect we just talked about, cannot be entirely replaced by EQ. Actually, scratch that, it shouldn't even be attempted. Overemphasizing emotional intelligence without raw cognitive competence can lead to highly ineffective decisions, even if you have the absolute best of intentions. You need the technical know-how. An administrator without cognitive intelligence might be incredibly empathetic, but they'd be completely incapable of drafting a functional economic policy. On the flip side of that, we have self-awareness. This is a crucial component of EQ. It's what equips individuals to remain calm under pressure, control their impulses, and manage immense stress. Think about it. What good is an incredibly high IQ if the individual completely crumbles under the high-pressure duties of public administration? Self-awareness is basically the internal anchor that allows those brilliant cognitive minds to actually function when a crisis hits. Section 3, Administrative Action. So, let's see how all of this builds in a high-stakes scenario. Imagine a massive disaster relief effort. On one hand, we could have a purely logic-based response, following procedures blindly, distributing resources strictly by the numbers, zero empathy. Technically correct? Maybe. But on the other hand, we have an EQ-driven response. High EQ administrators coordinating relief by actively listening to victims, genuinely understanding their grievances, and reassuring traumatized communities. A technically brilliant civil servant might excel in policy analysis, but if they lack the social awareness to account for human emotions during a crisis, their purely logical decisions can be socially insensitive or even morally questionable. Ultimately, they end up failing the very public they serve.
Section 4. Resilience and grit.
At this point, the skeptic in you might be asking, sure, EQ is great for a disaster response, but how does it apply to my long-term personal career trajectory? Isn't success over a lifetime just about being the smartest person in the room? Well, the answer lies in the number 12. This represents the number of times the first Harry Potter manuscript was rejected by publishers. Before becoming a billionaire author, J.K. Rowling struggled as a single mother facing repeated, crushing failure. Lifelong achievement is a marathon, not a sprint, guys. Success is heavily dependent on how one handles failure. Conventional IQ tests, they do not measure perseverance, optimism, or delayed gratification. It is emotional self-regulation, your EQ, that helps you recover from adversity and fosters the grit needed to overcome profound career failure.
Section 5. Teams and happiness.
Let's take a look at why EQ is literally non-negotiable for modern leadership, organizational dynamics, and your own lifelong personal satisfaction. When we compare IQ and EQ directly, some stark differences emerge. IQ focuses on logic, math, and reasoning. In school, it determines your grades and entrance exams. At work, as we established, it's the threshold that gets you hired. And by nature, it's mostly fixed or innate. But look at EQ. Its focus is empathy, self-awareness, and social skills. In school, it determines your social integration and grit. At work, it's the distinguisher that gets you promoted. And beautifully, by nature, it is highly learnable and adaptive. High EQ managers use these learnable skills to manage disagreements constructively, appreciate diverse viewpoints, and build a truly cohesive team. In the corporate and administrative world, this directly translates to high employee morale, significantly reduced employee attrition, and a shared institutional purpose. It's a real game changer.
Furthermore, empathy and social awareness directly integrate with your ethical values. Character isn't defined by intellectual ability, it's defined by integrity and responsibility. The core components of EQ actively discourage unethical behavior. They encourage fairness, they help administrators balance rigid rules with actual human compassion, and they equip individuals to uphold ethical values even when they are under immense pressure. Pure intelligence without emotional maturity frequently results in unethical or just socially damaging outcomes.
Section 6. Cracking the UPSC answer. Okay, the skeptical student watching this is probably asking the ultimate practical question right about now. This philosophical debate is great and all, but how on earth do I package all this into a high-scoring mains exam response in just 150 words? So how do we do it? The absolutely crucial point is structure. Here is your concrete framework for a 10-marker question. Step 1. Start with a standard definition introduction. Define EQ clearly, recognizing and regulating emotions, and immediately establish IQ as the threshold and EQ as the distinguisher. Step 2. Build a comparative body. Don't just list dry theories. Use the real-life examples we discussed today. Contrast the logic-based disaster relief with the empathetic one. Mention resilience using the J.K. Rowling example to show exactly how EQ handles failure where IQ simply cannot. Step 3. End with a synergy-focused conclusion. Emphasize that the highest form of success doesn't force a choice between IQ or EQ, but requires a powerful synergy of both, guided by strong ethical values. And you can firmly anchor that conclusion with this powerful metaphor from our sources. IQ may provide the engine for our journey, but EQ is the steering wheel, with ethical values as the navigation system. Success in public service, and honestly in life, isn't just about how intelligently you think, but how wisely you understand and manage emotions. If your engine is running at absolute top speed, but you have no steering wheel and absolutely zero navigation, where are you really going to end up? I want you to think about that as you prepare for your exams and your future careers. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.